Okay, everybody. Um, Here I am back with episode 2 of this podcast for thinking outside the box for live streaming on Twitch, but really any gaming platform, good game streaming platform. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I think is kind of important and something that we forget a lot about. So, when we're talking about the idea of thinking outside the box when it comes to streaming, I think it's important to question everything. And so I'd like to talk about something that is easy for us to take for granted and forget about, like I said, and that is webcam placement. And there are a few things involved with webcam placement that I'd like to talk about. And of course, not everybody does webcams on their streams, and that's fine. But just bear with me, and because I think even if you don't use a webcam, you can still use a webcam. So here are some things, because I hear a lot of times people say, well, I'm too shy about being on cam, and that's fine. But there are workarounds, I think, and I'm going to talk about those things today. So one, you see a lot of these live streams, especially now. There's a going live button for every platform there is, like Facebook and I don't know, Instagram, right? I think. But so we have to talk about some of the non-gamer streams first, and I'll explain why, and you'll actually see why. So for non-gaming streams, we have the default webcam setup, and we've all seen it before. It's the webcam that's dead center, and it's on the broadcaster's face. I'm kind of recording my podcast right now. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and you can kind of see my face right now. It's kind of what it is. Maybe this is more like it. Hello, this is the default webcam, right? I personally, for right now, I don't have the setup where I could change it around. I do, but I don't. And so that's something that I should really consider, is changing. Although it's not really dead center, but you get the idea. So this is like, if you're FaceTiming somebody or you're FaceTiming your mom on Skype, right? It's the hello, yes, right? It's the dead center kind of non-gamer streams. And what they say for those kinds of streams is less headroom. So that means you don't want a lot of space in between your top of your head and the rest of the area. Like right now, I'm on my camera. You can see all the space. That's what they say to avoid. But like this, now that I'm sitting up a little bit more, they say this is the right way to do live streaming when you are placing a camera, and that's for non-gamer streams. I should make that very clear. This is for non-gaming streams, and I'll get to gaming stream webcam placement in a little bit, at least for what I think. So the second type is the other live streamers, and that's like the influencer streamers, or the people who travel and document everything about them, which is a great thing to do, by the way. If you want to be an influencer, you want to document things, not like just kind of broadcast things. One thing reality TV has taught us is that it's so popular because it gives us a way into the person's life behind the veil. And so just a little side note, if you're interested in being more of an influencer, which of course game streamers can be influencers, you can get into the influence market. So if that's something you're interested in, just as a little side note here, it's, I would say, important to just document everything, because that's what, like I said, reality TV has taught us. So these influencers, these live streamers who are just kind of like walking around documenting everything, like when they travel, or like you'll see people live streaming. Like I go, I went was when I was I go to Disneyland quite a bit because I'm obsessed with it. But last time I was there, I saw like 2 people. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when there's a lot of families, just like with kids walking around, like just randomly, I saw like 2 people just documenting their experience, and they were like talking with people, random people, and anyways, I just assumed it was for their YouTube channel or something. But so you have these like travel people, and so these are the people who might walk around with a camera, and so these type of streams tend to focus on the environment and less on the broadcaster. Like I said, I saw people on Disneyland, so they're not really focused on, they're not going to be focused on, hello, this is me, I'm at Disneyland. No, they're going to be scanning the area with their camera, and they're going to be showing off where they are. And so this is like the GoPro and the travel cameras. So there's a lot of freedom with those kinds of, obviously there's a lot of freedom with that kind of setup. You're not just in your room, right, broadcasting. But that brings me to the third type, which is the gaming streamers. And this is what you're all here, and you want to kind of hear about this, is that gamers have the freedom. I would argue gamers have the freedom as much as those other live streamers do. As much as the influencer streamers, the ones who travel, the ones who focus on the environment around them. I would say gamers have just as much freedom for their webcam setup as those type of people. In that you want to, yes, of course, focus on you, the streamer, and your reactions and all that, but you've also got the game too. You've got to broadcast a stream, but that's not really webcam. That's more internal. But you also want, I think, to focus a little bit on the environment around you, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. But there is this. I wanted to focus on one case study. There's a streamer, and I don't know if you know this guy, but his name is Bishop. PGP, and he says, one day I was streaming and I thought part of what makes certain live videos so interesting and compelling is the multiple angles that viewers get when cameras are switched, so why not do the same for gaming? He says, because I have all of this high-end production at my disposal. So he was some sort of like TV producer, so he has a lot of this high-tech production equipment. He says, I decided to create a setup that would separate me from other streamers and create a brand for myself. Bishop's setup includes 2 cameras, one front-facing and one back-facing, and that's interesting because the front-facing we all know, that's the one I've got right now. It's the one you always see on streamers on Twitch. I open up on any channel live stream, and you'll see that it's the front-facing. They've got to have one of those. But then he has one back-facing. That's interesting. So these allow him to switch between either the standard standard face camera, excuse me, the camera behind, which captures a wide shot of his PC setup, or the video feed from his gameplay. So although I'm not a tech genius, so I don't quite understand this, this article goes on to talk about his equipment, and so I'm just going to briefly talk about it, not go too much into it, but article says, for a Bishop setup, every camera source goes directly to the secondary PC, which is essentially his dedicated production switcher. The Sony FS700 is mounted with the Teradek Cube 255 encoder, which pulls the video feed and sends an RTSP stream to OBS. After overlays are added in, the feed is sent directly to Twitch. So, yeah, that's kind of a lot there. I don't understand it. I might have to just do some research into. I tried doing some research into the Teradek Cube. It's apparently one thing that's it does is allows you to stream to all these platforms. There is an application already available called, I think it's Restream. But I don't really use it, but some people will use it where uh, they go live with it, and then it goes to all these different platforms. I wanted to say a little bit of a disclaimer though. If you're an affiliate streamer, or I think this goes same for partnered streamers. Although if you're a partner streamer, you don't really need to get advice from me. But affiliate, as I understand, affiliate streamers, because I'm one, you can't, unless they've changed it recently. You can't stream from a different platform within 24 hours. So you have to have original content for Twitch within 24 hours. After 24 hours, you can stream to a different platform, Mixer, YouTube Gaming, Facebook Gaming, whatever it is. And that's for affiliates, at least I know for sure. So if you're not an affiliate, sure, if you want to use this Teradek cube, then that's fine. Or this, like I mentioned, Restream, I think it is. I think there's the Restream, and then there's something else too. I can't quite remember what that was, but anyways, point is, he has all that. All I really wanted to say was he's got a camera that captures behind, which captures a wide shot of his PC setup, and I just kind of thought, how cool would it be if, I don't know if this would work or not. I'm sure it probably would. I imagine it would, where you have a camera behind you, and it's just the back side of you, just playing the game, and then you've still got the mic here. So when you say something, your chat can hear you, but your chat can hear you saying, talking to them and stuff, but you're not looking at the front-facing camera. I think that'd be kind of interesting. It'd be refreshing, a refreshing take on streaming. So I don't know if anyone else knows that streamer, but I just wanted to focus in on that as an example. So now you don't have to get super technical like Bishop to break away from the conventional game streamer webcam setup. I've seen other interesting and easy to pull off webcam positions on Twitch, and I'd like to kind of get into that a little bit. I think it's worth mentioning that there's this idea on Twitch and other gaming streaming platforms that are more background, that the more background you see, the more interesting. So the idea is that the viewer gets to see inside the streamer's house and their room. That might sound kind of creepy, but it's true. So what are on their shelves? If inside their bedroom, is their bed made? I don't know if you can tell from mine right now, but my bed is not made. So, right? I mean, come on. What game posters do they have hanging on their wall, if any? I don't have a game poster, but I think you can see a little bit. I have I'm kind of a art history fan, and so that's a kind of like a replica of a Degas painting, which is called The Absinthe Drinker, which is a really interesting story to it. I won't get into it, but basically in France, 1800s, people would save up, well, certain people, such as, I don't know, like artists and other kind of shady people at the time would save up all their money to buy absinthe, which is a really powerful drink, and so they would have one day and go to the cafe and get a absinthe and just drink on that, because at the time they weren't rich people or anything. So anyways, that's kind of why it's an interesting story. But anyways, so in this case, in the case of seeing around the streamer, going back to this live stream, the other live streamers, such as the influencers who travel and show off their environment, like, hey everybody, look where I'm at. I'm at this really cool music festival. Or hey everybody, look at me. I'm at this theme park. I'm at Disneyland or whatever. So it's more focused on the background. So the webcam would be placed above above their head, showing more of the background and behind them. And so when I first started, I talked about the non-gamer streamer, the default, where you're facing the camera, you're right in front of it, it's at the dead center. But I talked about the proper way to do that was not to have a lot of head space. That's what they say. You want to cut as much head space and empty space as possible. But that's not the case for game streamers. I find that interesting because a lot of times you will there's a lot of contradictory evidence here or whatever, because a lot of times on Twitch, like I said, you see kind of the dead center. Well, if you follow along with that philosophy, you would also have to cut out as much headspace, but that's not true. That's not what, at least from what I've seen, you want headspace. If you've got the webcam right here, if you don't have a setup where you can really experiment with different webcams, where you can't have it right behind you, right? I would say you want headspace, because that allows the viewer to see kind of inside your room. Now, it doesn't have to be headspace. It could be like to the space to the left of you, right? You could move the webcam a little bit to the left, or webcam right to a little bit to the right. And so that allows the viewer to kind of see inside your room a little bit more. What's hanging on their walls, right? Whatever. I've seen streamers with like, they collect, I don't know, those little miniature, I don't know what they're called, but you see them all the time, and they're like from animes or video games, the collectibles. And so, you know, they've got them lined up on their shelves right behind them. So the idea is that you do want space. You are focusing on the background and not yourself as the streamer. And then I also wanted to go into this a little bit, because we've all seen this trend where streamers have color LED lights in the background. I have fallen into that category. I've hopped on the LED lights bandwagon, because if you're on my YouTube and you're seeing this, you see behind me, I've got my lights changing color. They change kind of every second or two. So you'll see a lot of times these streamers are like, you know, dim background, one light in front of them, and then the background with the LED lights. That's my setup. And so, but that just goes again to the focusing on the background and not on the streamer. So I think sometimes people like to look at the setup, again focusing on behind the streamer. And that's why I think streamers have freedom in their camera placement, like the influencer does. So you miss out on a lot of cool angles if you're just focused on right in front of you. That's why there's this kind of argument as to whether or not you want to have a green screen or not. Because if you don't have a green screen, you don't have the camera behind you. But if you have a green screen, I think it's a little bit more, you could say maybe a little more tech professional or tech impressive. I don't want to say it's more professional, but it's something to do with having more professionalism within technology, I guess. Or like you're showing off, yes, I know how to do I know how to do a green screen setup, and here it is. Right, and it also could be a little bit more immersive for gameplay. I don't know. It also goes, but with that being said, it also goes to saying, well, if you're talking about immersion for the gameplay, then you might not even want a webcam at all. But anyways, that's just, again, these are all just kind of discussions and ways of brainstorming what you can do for getting outside the box of streaming. And I think camera angles, it can be a really advantage for small streamers or streamers who maybe don't have, or you're just starting out, right, whatever it is, just as a way to kind of break away from the traditional webcam setup. And on Twitch and some of these other platforms, it's all about competing with other ones and how yours is different from the others. So anyways, I'd like to know your thoughts on this. Feel free to comment on my YouTube. You can find me at Kinda Cool Alex, and that's spelled with a 3 instead of an E in Alex, so Al3x, and underscores instead of spaces, because I'm a nerd.